United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Well, as the dogs in my neighborhood would tell you, I can't even come close to singing like that in my shower. So, thank you, Mallory.
In unity, there is power. On March 20, 1854, those who fundamentally believed in human freedom and the dignity of the individual unified with a common purpose in Reagan, Wisconsin, and changed the world for the better. For over 165 years, the Republican Party has been the most effective vehicle we've had to advance and defend our American values. Through bold leadership, our party ended the scourge of slavery and established citizenship for liberated former slaves. Later, the Republican-controlled Congress established Yellowstone as the first national park in the United States. Republicans elected the first African-American governor, the first woman to the U.S. House of Representatives, secured for women the right to vote, granted citizenship to Native Americans, elected the first Hispanic member of the U.S. Senate, saw the first woman to serve in both the U.S. House and Senate. We enacted the Civil Rights Act, appointed the first woman to the U.S. Supreme Court, provided firm leadership that collapsed the Soviet Union, ending the Cold War, and built the strongest military the world has ever seen to defend all that we have created. These are just some of the historic accomplishments of our party, and together we will accomplish even more. As we look back at all that the Republican Party has accomplished and imagine where America would be if we were not in this fight, one thing is crystal clear. We must fight on. The Republican Party is the big tent we gather under to develop, share, and implement the bold policies that have advanced human freedom. It is the infrastructure that we and our forefathers have spent over 165 years building. Through that hard work, we have a platform in every state that gives those who will add to our party's historic accomplishments the best chance to do so. The Republican Party is the big tent that puts America and her people first. As Republicans, we know that as we practice the principles of unity, bold leadership, and perseverance, our best days are still ahead. Join us as we make history and build an even better and stronger America together.
I love that video. That's who we are. On behalf of the York County Republicans, I extend the warmest welcome to each of you this evening. Would everyone that is serving our county in public office please stand and be recognized. Thank you. We have a group of awesome teenagers here tonight that will be assisting with the drinks, the refills, helping you with anything that you might need. Once you have picked up your food and have been seated, they will pick up the trays that you carry your food on and put them back in the line because we don't have enough for everybody. So let's give them a hand. Don't be bashful to ask them for help if you need it. After the prayer, and Stan Bear, our commissioner from District 3, right, is going to have our prayer for us. But after the prayer, if you would just dismiss yourselves, table 1, table 2, table 3, and the soup line, go on both sides of the table, help yourself to the soup, and then the drinks and the dessert are over there. So I guess that's it. I'll have Stan come up and just make the most of the evening. Thank you for coming.
I'm the one holding up the dinner, so I better make it quick. But it's beautiful. All the decorations, thanks for everything you've done. But let's call for prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, you're number one. We love you, and we pray that you be here, and your presence be here. We need you every day. And when I looked at the topic of tonight's session, Father, I saw it was lovely country. Yes, we do love our country. It made me think of our founding fathers, how they prayed, struggled, come up with a Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and Lord, you were with them. You gave them guidance, and we see the results. For 200 plus years, we have seen that by setting this country on Christian principles, that it has prospered and flourished. And we thank you, Lord, for being with our leaders during this time. As we look forward, though, that was the last 250 years, we've been blessed. But as I look today and ahead, I see troubles. There are evil forces that are coming against us, Lord, and we need your help. We see thievery, and we see lawlessness in our country, and we see greed, and we see that what COVID, how lies about COVID and man-made energy, global warming, and so we need, Lord, your help in fighting with these evil forces, and we see the murder of babies. So Lord, give us strength and energy, and help us not to sit on our hands, but to lead us to be proactive in loving our country and making the country what best it can be. I know, like, we look at the Old Testament and we see that when children of Israel, when they worshiped you and were obedient to your laws, they prospered. When they went their own way and lost their way, they were devastated, and you sent them a man, a prophet, to remind them of their sins, and they would repent, and they would recover and become prosperous once again. This is what we need here. We need to call upon your name to help us in making decisions, and to lead our country, our state, and our county forward. Jesus, in your prayer, the Lord's Prayer, you prayed, Father, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That is my prayer for us tonight. Amen.
So table 1, you can just start. I can nudge you if I need to. I don't want to go
Yep.
there.
Pause.
I forgot all about it.
Hello, what a great turnout. Thank you for inviting me. Beautiful evening and good weather for the month of February. Let's keep it up. January started out a little tough, so. Two things that I want to mention before I get going. I did put a sheet of paper on a clipboard at the info desk. If you wouldn't mind, and what I send out a weekly email. It's also it's what I write up in the papers too. But if you'd like to be on the email list, just jot your name and email at the front. I love it, and I promise I won't sell it. I'm not, I won't spam you or whatever. It's just mostly updates of what's going on at the legislature. And number two, I thought this is fitting. I don't know, who knows that it's February is 4-H month? Who knows that? Yes. I am representing. You see this pin? I've got my 4-H pin on. So, and we are in a 4-H building that I got here and I'm like, this is where they show cattle. Like this is all full of sand. Like whenever I've seen it, it's a cattle show barn. And I'm like, wow, it's nice. So you guys go to a lot of work to clean this out. But, so Diana had told me that she kind of wanted an update on the session, so hopefully that won't bore you, but that's what I'm going to do. This session is going amazing. This is my second year, and compared to last year, I'm knock on wood. We are really doing good things, and things I've never seen before. I think the last 2 or 3 days, we've actually gotten through the entire agenda. So that's a new thing. I actually have to pay attention now. Before it was recipes and all this, the filibuster, and so you could just kind of not pay attention. But we're getting through some really good things, bills left over from last year, people's priorities, so that's exciting. We're actually going to have a consent calendar this year, so if a bill gets out of committee 8 or 7-0, and doesn't have a fiscal note or something, we can actually have a consent calendar. So these are all new to me, so that's exciting. I've seen some interesting floor debate, and I'm going to kind of talk about the two biggest ones that we've had just here in the last 2 weeks. 2-man crews on trains. That is a very contentious subject. We had a group of Omaha senators lead a filibuster on that, so that was kind of exciting. Ended up, I don't know if you pay attention, but the bill didn't pass. It would have required the trains to have 2 individuals on a train. And we can talk about that after if you would like. The other biggest, most fun debate, I guess, or interesting, was daylight savings time. And I get a lot of emails on that one. The bill was to go to daylight savings time permanently. It would be if 3 states around us did it, and the federal government. Well, then there was a senator that wanted us an amendment to go to standard time permanently. My mother was like, I don't care, just pick one. I don't like to change the clocks. Maybe all of you guys are in that too. But these are the things, so you think it's easy, but it's not easy. And what it came down to, I call them the fringe. The people on either side of the time zone, the people who live in Paxton, okay, right on that edge. One way, they will have sunrise at 9:15 in the morning, and the other way, they would have sunrise at 4:15 a.m. So here in the middle, it's kind of like, we could go either way, it's going to be fine, but those edges, it really affects. And then second, I think I got an email from every golf course in the state, because if we would go to standard time, in the summer, sunrise would be like at 8:30. And they're like, that's an hour of time that people are out on the course. And retailers, when it is dark out, people after work, people don't go shop. They shop when it's daylight. And so the economic impact of a change of time. Isn't that interesting? So these are the things, I am loving this section. This is the stuff that I like. And just for the record, I voted for the permanent daylight standards time because I would prefer the light at the end of the day. Both of these things failed. So we're just where we're at. We're going to change in the spring and the fall. So tax stuff coming forward, I think, is a big one. And I've got 3 commissioners here. I've also heard from every commissioner in the state. There's a bill for eliminating an inheritance tax. And I think we can all agree that's a double tax. Nobody likes that. I signed on to that bill. But as you hear, here, and I will attest, and you can talk to your commissioners, guys, they're not using it for parties. They're using it for the roads, for the snow emergency we had at the beginning of the year. York used it for some of those funds there. And so I have issue that unless we can replace that inheritance tax with another revenue for our counties, I have a hard time pulling it away when I know it will just increase our property tax. So we'll see what happens with that bill. It just got heard this week in a hearing. I like what Governor Pillen's talking about with property tax relief. He wants to front load that tax credit, and I'm fully on board with that. I don't think that we should pay our property taxes, and then down the road when we file our income, ask for it back. Don't have us pay it in the first place. And Governor Pillen would like to take those funds, give it right to the school, so that our tax on, when you're writing that check for property, it is that lower amount, that 30% for the schools is up. I love that. I also love eliminating exemptions in our sales tax code. And this is just one example. If I don't, but if I had a lawn service person mow my lawn, I do not pay a sales tax on that service. But if I had a pool, which I don't, but if I had a pool and hired someone to do my pool, I pay a tax on that service. That seems odd. So there's a lot of things like that. And they're looking at eliminating some of those, and I think that's great. So, again, I'm not on revenue. We'll see kind of where that goes. But we do need property tax relief. So then I'm going to, and so then I'm helping the initiative. You can call me High Tax Hughes. So last year, I brought a tax on vaping products. And vaping, so that, we just wanted in the books for years. It's a nicotine product. And we excise tax tobacco and cigarettes and alcohol, but vape was not. When I got in there was no tax on vape, and I was on school board, and I saw what an issue it is with our kids. So we got that tax on the books. Well, we're looking at more revenue, and we put it on the books too low, and I know that, but I sacrificed my soul just to get it in there, because sometimes you have to make concessions. So we're going in for a higher vape tax. And then, the next thing with vaping, I am working with Attorney General Pilgers, and I'm excited. So everybody, look at that sheet. I put a sheet on every paper. Can you guys, if you want to look at it, you see that? Can anybody tell me what that is? It looks like a Solo cup. I agree with a little straw. It looks like a little McDonald's Happy Meal. I like a toy out of a Happy Meal. This is a vape device brought by a third grader to York Elementary School.
Oh my word.
The kids were playing with this kind of silicone rubbery, and then the teachers were like, what is it? And then the kids kind of were hiding away, and they got it. This is a vape device. And the 9-year-old had gotten it from an older brother. But guys, this is a problem. What adult wants to smoke this? Oh, vaping's a cessation device for adults. Really? I'm going to sit there and smoke this? I don't think so. Who is this marketed toward? Kids. And that has got to stop. And thankfully, my Pilgers and my team are working on a vape regulation bill that will eliminate online sales of these things and also establish a registry so that products like this cannot be sold in the state of Nebraska. It will be legitimate vape devices, because I do have a friend that got off smoking with a vape device. But, she was an adult. These things are strawberry flavored, fruit flavored. No 9-year-old would ever want to smoke a cigarette that smells like tobacco, but you put it in this and it smells like strawberry, tastes good, what's going to happen? Boom, addicted to nicotine. Anyway, that is one of my passions, if you can't tell. My other favorite bill is LB 1035, and you might have read about it in some of my emails or in the paper. But I had, again, well, it wasn't York, it was Utica. I had a constituent email in last year, and this is why I like emails from my constituents. And she had written in, and her father had passed, and he was in a nursing home. And he had just boatloads of prescription meds left. And do you know what we do with those in the state of Nebraska? We burn them. They are, even though they're perfectly good, they're in blister pack, they're not expired, but they've been, they were my prescription, we burn them. We collect them, and it's called a take-back program when we burn them, which is good. We don't want them flushed down the toilet. But, so she was just upset by this, and she said she'd heard in Iowa they had a program. So I filed that away for look at during the interim. And I am on my last name. This is my last thing I'm going to talk about. So we went to, there's a place in Iowa called SafeNet RX, and they bring in these kind of meds that are from nursing homes in blister packs. You can tell they haven't been tampered with. You've opened a bottle of your prescription meds, we can't take those back, right? You don't know what's in it. And they take them in, they categorize them, and then they allow pharmacies that serve either low income or, underserved or uninsured folks. And then they can access those meds and give them to them. So like the People's City mission, and maybe a homeless person or somebody that is uninsured can come in and they can get that prescription for free. And we're not, wasting these medications. When we were in that Iowa warehouse distribution center, they had $20 million worth of inventory. And that is $20 million that would be destroyed. And so we've got some things in statute that will allow, we can send medication to them, we just can't take it back in. So we've got we need to change statute that will allow us to take back in. And then we'll need a little bit of funding because we have to pay that. We're going to partner with Iowa. We're not going to do this ourselves. We'll partner with Iowa and then allow it for us to be able to access that. And you think about it, somebody maybe needs blood pressure meds. They're not on it. But if they come in and can stay on their meds, they might not end up in the ER 3 months from now, which is much more costly than it was getting those meds. So those are my two. I'm out for vape, and I really set up my prescription drug donation program. Please, if you're from District 24, I'd love your email. Like I said, I promise I won't use it in an incorrect way. And if you have any questions, see me after. So thanks for having me.
Okay, our next speaker of the evening is Kurt Penner. We can claim him from being from central Nebraska. We don't have to argue about whether he's a York native or an Aurora native. So he moved to Aurora at the age of 7. He's always been involved with community service, serving faithfully for 16 years on the Aurora Public School Board, and is currently president of the Aurora Development Corp. Kirk is also president of Penner Bathing, where they design, manufacture, and sell bathing systems to long-term care facilities throughout the United States and Canada. And it's also, I'm told, great for home use, just for the normal individual.
Yep.
So, fun fact about Kirk, we found out that he loves sticky notes. So, he's a busy man, and he's got to be here, there, and everywhere, so we got Kirk, we chipped in and got him. So welcome, Kirk Penner. Can you see me okay down here?
Yeah.
Okay, that looks a little bit churchy to me. But I am going to preach a little bit. First of all, thank you. I was born in York, for those of you who don't know that, and on my way into the Altus Convention Center, because that's where I thought we were going to be tonight, I drove from South York to North York here, and drove by, I think it's a daycare center now, but how many people remember when I lived here, Little Duffer? Yeah. So yeah, that was a good hamburger place, and my brother was playing baseball, and we go there after wins. So I am your State Board of Education representative. There's 8 people on that board. It is a 5-3 board, meaning 3 like us in this room, and 5 that are not like us in this room. And it is a very bizarre world that I live in. I'm sure Jana and Mike have bizarre stories, maybe in the legislature, but what's going on in education is bizarre. And it's the only way to put it. I'm going to highlight a couple of them. But first things first, the number one issue really for the state of Nebraska is employees. And education is not immune from that. We have a large teacher shortage in this state. But a lot of it is the archaic, stupid rules that the Nebraska Department of Education has on reciprocity from other states, retired teachers trying to teach again once they've stopped teaching. They want to come in and sub. They're going to make them take classes. And so we're trying to fix that. And with Elizabeth Techmeyer, who's one of the three, she is the president of the State Board of Education. You got to remember, that's a 5-3 board with 3 Republicans. There's a 4th, but she's not a Republican. So it's 3 conservatives on that board. We can't vote anything and win, right? We're the minority. But by the grace of God, we swung votes. And Elizabeth Techmeyer, conservative from North Platte, Nebraska, is the board president of the State Board of Education. So she assigns committees and is in charge of the show. So that was a blessing. She worked really hard on getting that, and it's wonderful. So just recently, I'll go over 2 things and then I'll be done. Nebraska is one of the states that has an obscenity exemption, meaning public libraries and school libraries are exempt from having obscene materials in their libraries. So I think a lot of you understand, and I won't read the pages that I've read at State Board of Education meetings, but we have flat-out porn in some of our school libraries. And so I brought a rule. We don't do bills like the legislators do. We do rules. And the State Board of Education does have the authority granted to it by the Constitution and by state statute to control library materials. It's fact. So I brought a rule change that used the Miller versus California decision. It's a Supreme Court decision on obscenity. I used that language, and then I pulled some language out of state statute that described sexually explicit material. And I put that into a rule to eliminate it from our public school libraries. I did that 2 weeks ago. You would have thought I took their birthday away. I've got 5 school board members that want nothing to do with it. And I don't know where it's coming from. They think it's a local control issue, and I don't believe that York School has the authority to allow sexually explicit materials to be brought to minor children. No school should be able to be allowed to do it, but we have an exemption in the state of Nebraska that allows it. So I believe I hope Joni Albright is doing that bill again, trying to eliminate the obscenity exemption. I don't know if she's doing it this year. Hopefully she does. So that, I had one of the liberal board members basically cry, because I called her out. I called all of them out. I said, am I the only one here that doesn't want sexually explicit material for our children? And she basically cried and said, no, Kirk, I don't want that. And she was crying on the board during the board meeting. And I said, well, let's do something about it. And they can't, the mindset is they can't keep it out because it's a local control issue. Mind you, they wrote health standards that they have no authority to write 2 years ago and blew up the state. And one of the reasons I'm on the State Board of Education. So they pick and choose their local control issues. And to me, sexually explicit material should not be in our public school libraries or our libraries. So we need to take care of the obscenity exemption that Nebraska has. The second piece that I want to talk, I handed this out. Can everybody look at this? And if we have any former English teachers here, or even if you just have half a brain, try and read that. And let me explain it to you. It's the gender ideology that's being brought into our public schools. So if you read some of that, this is Elkhorn North High School. This is their, you have a play, I think it's called Playbill. You got to go to the opera or whatever. These are pictures of students. And notice what it says. It's not, Emma Hartman is not the daughter, she's the child. And they did not use personal pronouns, they used the word they. So this is what we're battling with the gender ideology in every school. The teaching of the pronouns, the choosing of the pronouns, the choosing of the gender, the allowing of boys to be in girls' locker rooms has to stop, or we're going to lose society.
Yep.
So it was hard for me to explain this, but you got to read that. And everywhere they have they, it should be he or she. But this music teacher or play teacher evidently came from a woke university system which they all are, right? Maybe except Concordia or some of the others like that. But this is what is coming down the path from the teachers and the administrators that are being taught in our local universities. They're being taught to be very careful and to allow kids to choose their pronouns. So I wanted to show this to you. I do have a rule change that I'm going to wait, but I'm going to wait for Senator Couch's bill to pass. Because you don't have to ask me, I don't have to ask anybody if it's okay for a boy to follow my daughter into the locker room. And I'm going to follow that boy right with them. That's what dads do.
Yep.
And we've got to stop it. And if we don't stop it in the school, if we don't protect our kids, if we don't protect hearts and minds and souls of our kids, we're in trouble as a nation. So I appreciate being here, Diana. You do a wonderful job, and you have a ton of volunteers. But those are the things that I'm doing. 2 things to finish with. One. We've got a board. We got 4 open board spots in the November election. We need 2. All we need is 2. We get 2, it's a 5-3 board. 5-3 board, good guys. And then when I take my sexually explicit rule change to the State Board of Education in February, it passes.
Yes.
And we have no more sexually explicit material in our public schools. If I would bring Senator House bill would not pass, and I would have to bring my rule change, it would come in February and it would pass. And we would keep boys and men from being in girls' locker rooms. So the importance of the 4 open spots, none of the incumbents are running. They don't want to go through. They don't want to go through it. We're spending $100,000 for a non-paying State Board of Education position, and when they got on the board, nobody was paying attention. Parents are paying attention, York County Republicans are paying attention, and the state's paying attention. So with that, thank you for having me here today. I look forward to hearing from Mike and Mike, and if you have any questions, I'll be around afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Mike Foley, and I'm told when I was talking with him earlier, he said his actual title is Auditor of Public Records. Did I get that right? Public Accounts. Auditor of Public Accounts. Well, let me tell you a little bit about a man that's been in public service a lot of years. Of all those, Mike Foley's accomplishments in service to his community, state, and nation, I wanted to start by highlighting the most important information that I saw in his bio. He and his wife Susan have been married for 33 years and are the parents of 6 children and 3 grandchildren. Mike lives by the creed or motto that he strives to know, love, and serve the Lord Jesus Christ. He and his wife are members of St. Peter Catholic Church in Lincoln. Mike was elected to the office of Auditor of Public Accounts in 2022. He previously held this office for the 8-year period from 2007 to 2015. In the intervening years, Mike was the 2-term lieutenant governor after being elected to the position as the running mate of Governor Pete Ricketts. As lieutenant governor, he served as the president of the Nebraska legislature and was the state's Homeland Security advisor. As lieutenant governor, he led 10 international trade missions to South America, Europe, and Asia. His work as auditor resulted in the exposure of many millions of dollars of waste, fraud, and inefficiency in government operations. If you've been watching the news, most recently, he and his staff found $685 million worth of accounting errors in just the 2023 fiscal year. It could have resulted in missing money if it wasn't caught. So this is where I have to tell the people of York County and the York County Republican Party that Mike also found some overspending here in the York County Republican Party. You see, Diana was buying too many vowels. She put too many E's in my last name. But, you know, that accounts for ink, paper space. So Mike caught that too. So we need to. He's going to give her a pass this time. Put her on probation, but we need to watch her. Prior to election as auditor, Mike was elected and subsequently re-elected to the Nebraska unicameral as a state senator for the 29th district in South Lincoln. While in the legislature, he served on various committees, including the Appropriations Committee, Banking, Transportation, and the Judiciary Committee. His work in the legislature included successful enactment of numerous laws relating to the protection of the lives of unborn children. Prior to moving to Nebraska, Mike lived in Washington, D.C. for 20 years, where he was the Director of Financial Analysis for the National Association of Regulatory Utility Commissioners. Would you all please give a warm welcome to Mike Foley.
Very much. Thank you so much. I'm having a great evening. I got to tell you, I went through that line. I got 3 very large bowls of soup, 3 different kinds. It was incredible. I walked past the cake table over there, and I checked it out. I fess up, okay? I'm going to fess up. I took the largest piece of carrot cake that I could find. Awesome. And I sat at my table, I enjoyed all of that. I looked over that cake table, I said, you know, would anybody care if I took a second piece of cake? Ash Wednesday's coming up this Wednesday, the first day of Lent. I'm going for it. So I got my calendar in tonight. I'm having a great night, so I hope you are. So thanks for all of you for putting this together. This is wonderful. Very encouraging. My job tonight is to talk about auditing. Before I put you to sleep, okay? I gotta tell you something that's heavy on my heart and my mind tonight. I'm very, very concerned about this. There's a group in Nebraska composed of some very, very extreme, radical people. And they formed a group called Protect Our Rights. It all sounds so wonderful. It all sounds so innocent. What are they up to? Today, and in recent weeks, they've been out on the streets. They go to shopping malls. They go to departments of motor vehicles and out on the public sidewalk. They're gathering signatures to put a constitutional amendment on our ballots coming up in November. They're not there yet. They got to get 123,000 signatures. But they're working away at it. If they put that thing on the ballot, we could be in trouble. Because what they seek to do is to completely eviscerate 50 years of pro-life activism in this state, 50 years of advances in protection for the lives of unborn children. If they succeed with what they're trying to do, this group is composed of Planned Parenthood, the Women's Fund of Omaha, and the ACLU. That's who they are. If they win this battle, we've got to stop them. If they win this battle, teenage girls who become pregnant will get abortions with no parental involvement. The parents have nothing to say about it. They'll be conferred a constitutional right to an abortion, and you don't even know about it. We'll have abortion through 9 months of pregnancy, right from the moment of birth, because of the way that they've written a so-called health exception in this thing. They will have abortions to the point of viability. Who gets to decide what viability is? The abortionist gets to decide. This is extreme legislation that's trying to put on the books of our state constitution. Has nothing to do with auditing. But I'm telling you, we've got to band together. We've got to stop this thing.
Yes.
Please, please. All right. Now, on to auditing. The past 8 years, as was mentioned, I was lieutenant governor. And I had the privilege of traveling across the state. You name it, I've been there. I love doing it. I got to meet the people in Nebraska. There's so many wonderful things happening in our state. We host the College World Series. We've got world-class medical facilities. We've got a great university system, great state college system, great community colleges. Public schools are wonderful, K-12, wonderful schools. Got some problems, Kirk will get them cleaned up. But here's what happened, here's what's going on. We got 2 million people in our state. This state is built, and our future depends on 45,000 farm and ranch families. They are what makes this state tick. They're the backbone of our economy. And if we don't look out for those farmers and ranchers, we don't have a future.
Amen.
So all our policies have to revolve around what's this going to do to farmers and ranchers. That's what we have to be about. We are number 1 today in cattle on feed. Texas would give us an argument on that, but we're number 1. We're number 2 in ethanol production. We're number 3 in corn production. We've got this thing called the Ogallala Aquifer. It's a veritable ocean of clean, fresh water just below our feet. Every other state in the union would give their right arm and their left arm to have that aquifer. We've got it. We're going to protect it. We're going to be an ag powerhouse for as far down the road as the eye can see if we protect our farmers and our ranchers. So all of our policies need to look out for them. And when I've met those farmers and ranchers I have so many times across the state in recent years, I feel for them because they work so hard. These are humble, genuine people who work so hard to help feed the world. So, when they pay their taxes, and they pay plenty, property taxes, income taxes, sales taxes, when they pay those taxes, they want somebody to be the bad cop who writes up these agencies when they blow the money. And it happens all the time. And it turns my stomach to see what's happening with state and local finances. As I say, people call it the state auditor. It's really the auditor of public accounts because every city, town, village, NRD, school district, they all have to file audit reports with my audit office. And we look over all those audit reports, and we can go in and re-audit these agencies if we need to, and so often we do. Let me just share a few war stories. There's a group called the Lincoln Airport Authority. They control what happens at the Lincoln Airport, obviously. Lincoln used to have a variety of airlines that would come in, fly in and out of Lincoln. No longer. We're down to United Airlines. Delta pulled out a couple years ago, and others before them pulled out. We're down to United. A consultant whose contract had actually expired with Lincoln Airport Authority came forward with this brilliant idea that we're going to add 7 more cities. We're going to create a new airline, which consisted of a website and an office out of his home. It's basically a virtual airline. They have one plane. They're going to fly this plane around to 7 new markets. And they're selling tickets on the internet for as low as $9. And even at that, they couldn't fill the planes. For an airline to make money, you've got to sell 85% of your tickets. 85% of the seats have got to be full. They never got above 40%. So they lost money hand over fist. They had some federal money. And when you give federal money to anybody in government, they think it's like monopoly money, play money. And they blew through $3 million of federal funds in 2.5 months. They didn't stop there. They said, let's tap into some local money too. They were into this thing for $700,000 of our local tax dollars. That's why property taxes are as high as they are, because you got government officials who act irresponsibly. This only happened because 3 units of government, Lincoln Airport Authority, Lincoln City Council, and Lancaster County Board, all voted for this thing. There was not one dissenting vote. We came and audited this thing, and we found them violating federal regulations. When you buy an airline ticket, the airline doesn't immediately get that money. That money has to go into an escrow account, this lockbox. The airline only gets the money when they complete the flight. The consultant was reaching into the lockbox, taking money out to try to run this airline, and draining the escrow account. So when the whole thing crashed, there was a whole lot of people out there who bought tickets for future flights, which never flew. As of Friday last week in my office, we were still tracing down people who had not yet received their refunds. And the Attorney General's office has also been working very hard. We want to make sure that every last customer gets every penny back that they put into that airline. It's just disgraceful. There's so much money could be wasted in such a short period of time. Another war story. This is a local government war story. The phone rings every day, no exaggeration. Every single day, somebody's on the phone or an email or walking into the office and saying, you wouldn't believe what's happening in my town, my city, my village, whatever it is. This one involves something called It's called the 5 Rivers Resource Conservation and Development District. What the heck is that? It's down in Tecumseh, Nebraska. The lady who's running this thing sent 220 checks to a business in southeast Nebraska. What's the name of that business? It's called Arley's Barbecue Food Truck. She made 200 payments, a total of $220,000 to Arley's Barbecue Food Truck. Who is that? It's her husband's food truck. Oh, nice. Nice. I hope you enjoyed the barbecue. Yeah, we're turning this over to the county attorney. He'll have some conversation with you about that. The city of Madison. Phone rings. Says, you got to get to Madison. You're not going to believe what's happening. A city employee was building his own home on city time using city building materials. He's got the city credit card to Menards, and he's got city employees helping him. He's in trouble. Big trouble. Up in northeast Nebraska, the North Fork Transit Authority. They started a bus company up in Norfolk. I've never seen anything like this. I've been on it for 10 years. Never seen anything like this. The guy blew through $750,000 in about 6 months. He took all his friends, all his family down to Disney World. We have a paper trail of going to the casinos with all of our public funds. And of course, he had the credit card too. When they give a government credit card, that's trouble. Anyway, he's in big trouble, and he's saying, well, you didn't understand. No, we understand. We understand. We got away with it. Okay. The little city of Ponca, Nebraska. The lady there, in charge of finances, she's got the credit card, gets in trouble buying all kinds of personal clothing and so forth. So she knows we're on to us. She quits her job. But before she quit her job, she took 20 gigabytes of city data and wiped it out of the city computer system. All the property, all the utility records, property, just wiped it out. Zeroed it out and said, I quit. You can't believe what people will do in these local governments. The village of Dix. Now, when you're an employer, you know this, when you're an employer, you have to withhold taxes from your employees' paychecks. And they get the net amount in the paycheck. Well, she did a good job of doing the whole withholdings. She never sent it on to the government. She never sent it on to the federal government for 10 years. For 10 years. Now, the village of Dix is not a big place. They own a very, very large tax bill to the federal government. Anyway, I got William mentioned the $685 million of accounting audit. This is an audit we do statewide. All the state government, we put together a set of financial statements for the entire state. And we gave them a clean audit opinion, the gold standard audit opinion. But there were $685 million of errors. Why did we give them a clean opinion? Because we fixed the errors. The auditors fixed the errors, not the agencies. And we've got a record of all of this. We're going around, we're meeting with all these agency directors to say, here's your piece of the $685 million in error. Now, what are you going to do to fix it? And we're working with the governor and other people to make sure we follow up on all of this. The DAS director is under pressure to get this cleaned up because ultimately it falls to DAS to review all this stuff before they send it to the auditor. And they're not doing it. So anyway, I can go on and on with war stories. It's so good to be with you. God bless you for what you do for our party. I'm a beneficiary of your work. I'm so grateful to be serving in public office because of what you do for our party. God bless you all. Thanks so much.
Isn't it refreshing when we have public service people that work hard like they do? All of them here tonight. We're just so appreciative and blessed to have them working for us. Attorney General Mike Hilgers is the next speaker. Mike was in private practice for over 15 years, handling complex litigation and discovery disputes in state and federal court. After practicing at a large law firm, he founded his own litigation law firm, and he built that from scratch to one of the fastest growing practices in the country. Before leaving his practice to take office as Nebraska's Attorney General, the firm had over 100 professionals and handled cases all over the country. Before taking office as Attorney General, Mike spent 6 years serving the people of Northwest Lincoln and Lancaster County in the Nebraska Legislature, District 21. He became Nebraska's 33rd Attorney General in 2022. Mike works hard to keep Nebraskans and their families safe, their rights protected, and ensures the integrity of our constitutional structure. He helps out law enforcement officials around the state, and he protects our natural resources, including the Ogallala Aquifer and our water supplies. Funny thing about Mike, he says he thinks he's a good singer, but somehow, like every dad, the kids never agree with us. They don't quite think he's top-notch singer, but I'll give him my vote. Please welcome Attorney General Mike Hilgers.
To be clear, I am no Mallory Myers. I am not even a decent singer. I'm terrible. But I make up songs about my 4 kids, and what I lack in quality, I make up in enthusiasm and volume. So anyway, to be very clear, I'm a terrible singer. Let me start this with a little moment of gratitude. First, I would like to express my thanks to Diana. Thank you for organizing this. I'd like to express my thanks to the elected officials who are here, Senator Hughes, Kirk, you're doing amazing work, and a special shout out to my really good friend, Auditor Mike Foley. There's no greater champion for our values, I think, in Nebraska than Mike, and there is clearly no greater champion for the preborn babies. He is dedicated his professional life and service to babies in their mother's wombs and supporting family. He's got an amazing family. Can we give all of them a round of applause? And I'd like to thank everyone here, not only for coming and taking your Saturday night, taking some of your time to be here in fellowship, but just for how you live your values. Let me tell you, we talk all the time about Nebraska being the very best place to raise kids. We've all heard that. I believe it. I got 4 kids here. And a lot of times we think of that and we don't think beyond it. It almost becomes a cliche. Well, it is. Let me tell you one of the most important reasons why Nebraska is the best place to raise kids. It's because of the people in this room. What do I mean? I could tell my kids all day long, and I do, sometimes multiple times. I got 12, 9, 7, and 5, so we're working on it. Work hard, persevere, have humility, treat people with respect, pray every day, build your faith. All of those things that matter. But if they walk out the door and every grown-up and every person in their community doesn't live those values too and don't model those values, what I say won't have the same impact. So when I'm in Nebraska and I'm in a room like this and I'm in my community, I am lifted up because I know when my children walk out of my house, what they see is what I preach. And I know the greatest gift that I can give them is the one that I was given as a child growing up in Nebraska, which is all of those values and growing up in an environment where they're gonna pick up those same values. So I just want to thank you. When you're walking around and you're doing the right thing and you think no one's looking, people are, little kids are, maybe my kids are. And so I just want to express my deepest gratitude for you and what you're not just doing here, but how you live your everyday life. I want to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing as Attorney General, but I want to put it in a little bit of context if I can. I think you can't help, or at least I can't help, come into an event like this. We have the flags, we've got amazing singers, we got a beautiful prayer. You're at Reagan, the great emancipator. Reagan, the great communicator. The great party in America. And it can't help for me to think, why am I doing all this? It's kind of, for me at least, like you have a moment of reflection. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Let me tell you why I'm doing it. It's in part. And it will feed into some of the things that I'm doing as your Attorney General and the work that we all have in front of us to be able to keep our country great. We live in the greatest country the world has ever seen. And it's sometimes very easy. I know this group doesn't take it for granted, but sometimes it's very easy for our neighbors and our friends and other people in our community to take what we have for granted. You go to the store, there's 400 version, types of cheese, there's all sorts of products, where it's generally safe, all those things people take for granted. But if you think in really deep ways, everything we have is unique in the world, and not just in the world today, but in world history. Let me give you a few examples. William mentioned how I started my firm. I did what you can still do in the United States. If you go to other countries and you want to make a lot of money, well, you could be the friend of a dictator. It always helps. If you want to, if you want to be an oligarch, or you could be an actor, terrible at that, or singer, as we've established. I'm not good at that. But in the United States, you can bet on yourself. And the reason you can bet on yourself is because you don't have the thumb of the government on you. It's because you can have the freedom to be able to chase your talents. That's what I did. When I built my firm, it was just me. My wife was 7 months pregnant. I started my firm. We were on the verge of bankruptcy, probably a few months out. But we had really no path. Started my firm 12 years later when I became Attorney General. We had over 100 lawyers around the country. You can't do that other places. You can't do it. And those stories are all over this country. Let me give you another example. Think about law enforcement and public safety. If you go to other countries around the world, law enforcement isn't what we have here. In the United States, we have professional, thoughtful people. People who are going to not have any prejudice towards power. They're not going to be corrupt. They're not going to take bribes. And if they are, either I'm going to find them, or maybe the auditor will find them. they will do the right thing for our communities to keep us safe. If you go to other countries, you go to some other countries, they might take bribes. Well, they don't want to challenge the cartels because, they're paying them, or they just don't want to take them on. They don't want to take on the powerful. And in an environment like that, how can you feed your family? How can you build a business? How can you strive for the future if you are constantly worried about your own safety? It just doesn't work. In the United States, we have this amazing constitutional structure. Separation of powers. We don't have a king. We fought a war over that. We don't have a dictator. We have a federalist system. The state of Nebraska is a sovereign entity that has its own authority and power. All of this separation of power keeps us free. In other countries, where they have dictators, or the courts don't really matter, it's like, yeah, we got a court. I mean, they got courts in Russia. But I guarantee you they're not courts that actually do justice. In fact, I think today, yes, I read every day, there's a feature that says Today in History. I don't know if you read the paper that says like Today in History. And I think it was today or this week, there was, today, it was like the Today in History in the 1930s. This was the day when the German government under Hitler determined that the SS would have complete power and it wouldn't be subject to judicial review. Separation of powers matters to our freedom. All of these things matter, and this group doesn't take it for granted, but sometimes we do. So as I think about my job as Attorney General, I think about those things and how can I help preserve all of those things? How can I preserve safety, our constitutional structure? How can I fight for small business owners? That's what I committed to when I ran, and that's what we're doing for you and have been doing over the last 13 months. So let me just give you a few, for instances, a few examples of some of the things that we've been doing. And we're on the front lines, I think, of some of the most important battles that our country is facing today. Let me give you the first one. Separation of powers. We all know we have three branches of government. And we all know also that the president is not a king and can't just spend whatever money that he wants to spend. For those of you who read the Constitution lately, Article 1 says right there, the appropriations powers, right there in the hands of Congress. Well, the president, about 2 years ago, said, you know what I want to do? Student loans is a big problem. There's a lot of student loan debt. He's like, you know what I want to do? I want to spend $500 billion to take care of student loan debt. So he did what he's supposed to do, which is put a bill. He introduced a bill. Lots of his allies, Senator Warren, AOC, all the ones on the left, all the coastal, they said, hey, let's go do this. But you know what happened? It failed. It failed in Congress. Didn't work. So our system of government says, you remember the Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill. You got to go to Congress, and you got to get both houses to vote on it, then it goes to the president, he signs it. So which means is, here's his option. He can either compromise, get more votes, he can persuade more, or he can get more people elected who agree with him. What he couldn't do was go and just do it on his own. And in fact, even Nancy Pelosi, no great conservative constitutionalist, and President Biden actually at one point in a moment of candor said, yeah, I'm not sure I can do this. But you know what he did? He did it anyway. Because he bet that there wouldn't be people who would sue him. Because by the way, the regulated entities, the student loan servicers, they knew if they sued, they'd get the hammer down, because their biggest clients are the federal government. And you know what? He almost won that bet. Sad to say, almost all of the states, almost, didn't do anything. But Nebraska did. We filed suit, Nebraska v. Biden, went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And I'm very proud to say, at the end, the very last decision, at the end of last term, the Supreme Court on a 6-3 decision came down and said, you know what, Nebraska? You're right. We don't have a king. You win. And so we stopped that. I'll give you another example. Waters of the U.S. Familiar with waters of the U.S.? Waters of the U.S. Very high levels. It won't be a constitutional class, I promise, but I know we got a lot of people interested in the Constitution. So one of the things that Congress can do, the federal government can do, we all agree on this, is they do have some interstate ability to regulate interstate commerce. Kind of makes sense. You got trains crossing states, you got waterways crossing states, like the Platte River, the Missouri River. Okay, we'll give Congress some ability to regulate. That's fair. So there's a statute, Waters of the U.S. that says the Corps of Engineers, the EPA, if you want to dam the Missouri, or if you want to dam the South Platte River coming in from Colorado, yeah, you got to go to the federal government. Now, what I don't think anyone would actually agree is you shouldn't, if you got a quarter section outside of York or outside of Lincoln, and you got a drainage ditch that is full one every 4 or 5 years, that is nowhere near the Platte or the Missouri or any other river of any kind, you would think that you wouldn't have to go to the EPA for that. No, you would think wrong if you were talking to a bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. The Biden administration said, you know what, actually, no, we think this applies to these waterways everywhere. So if you want to do anything in your property in this county or anywhere in Nebraska, you would actually have to go get support or a permit from the EPA. Think about that. Think of the lack of accountability. Those EPA bureaucrats in D.C. have probably never been to Nebraska. They may not be able to identify Nebraska on a map or spell it, and they are making decisions for us. We filed suit with a coalition of other state AGs, Republican states around the country. We filed suit. We stopped them in a lawsuit against the Biden administration. Should we stop them on that one too? It's not just the federal government that we've sued or looked to sue. We have other states. Unfortunately, the playbook on the left is we're gonna attack you from every angle. And the auditors could not be more right. Agriculture is the backbone, but not only just our economy, but our way of life and our culture. All those values that I talked about come from our agricultural community. But I'll tell you what, ag and the industry is in the sights of the left. They think, wrongly, that they think that agricultural, especially producers, that our way of life, our industry puts their net zero goal of reducing carbon emissions at risk. They can't get to net zero unless they take us out. Now they can't get that through Congress. They can't get majorities in any sensible, common sense group of representatives anywhere in the country. But what they can do is convince a bunch of radicals in California to try to regulate what's going on here. Or they can try to convince other people outside of Congress to be able to enforce and come after states like Nebraska or our industry here. So one of the things that California is doing, and I'm sitting here with Dan, who used to be at Warner Enterprises, California has figured out that what they can do, the sixth largest economy in the world. And they think that if they can come after, if they can export their values, because what they want to do is say, you know what, you can't sell your product in California unless you follow all these regulations. So they've done it once already with pork. You may remember that 2 years ago, before I took office. They said you can't sell pork products in California unless you follow all of these very expensive, costly requirements in terms of how you raise your pigs. Now they're doing it with trucking. So logistics is one of the most important industries that we have in Nebraska. We have a number of really great companies, including Werner. And what they now are saying in California, like, well, you know what? You can't drive your trucking fleet, if you're of any appreciable size, unless you commit and have all of your trucking fleet on electric vehicles by a certain time, which is, the time frame is impossible to meet. So we're looking right now with some of our other allies to file suit against California. And they're going to keep us, unfortunately, they're going to keep us in business in my office for some time to come. But California, New York, Massachusetts, they're trying to export their values through their state legislatures where none of us have a vote. None of us have a vote. And in fact, none of us as private citizens. Mike Hilders is a private citizen. I have no ability to go sue California. But almost the only people who can sue, the only entity they can sue, are states. So it is critical that we have strong, not just strong, courageous states who can file suits, but we need good lawyers who can win. That's the most important thing. You don't get any points. You don't get any points in life. There's no moral victories for filing a suit and losing, so we need to win. Let me give you a few examples of some of the things where we haven't filed lawsuits, but we push back on the federal government, some other things that they're trying to do. So everyone's heard about, there's this push on the left. It's anti-science. I mean, the left is so talk about, the anti-science party. It's not us. What they're trying to do with reducing carbon emissions by 2050 or so is extraordinary, what they're trying to do. They can't get it passed, they can't do any of those things. But one of the ways they want to do it is with regulations through the federal government. And you all heard about their efforts to take out refrigerators and ovens and stoves and all these household appliances that have been working just fine for decades. They don't want to let any of these new appliances be sold unless they're hyper energy efficient, very, very expensive, by the way, and very difficult for families to be able to afford. So they had all these rules that they proposed, and Nebraska, along with a number of other states, sent letters to these state agencies, and they listened. When Nebraska teams up, when we send a letter on our own, or when we team up with our other friends, they read them and they listen, and they especially listen because they know if they do something that they can't do, we will sue them. And very grateful that due in part to the work that we did, they actually pulled back on those rules. So we were successful in doing that. Let me give you one more example of the federal government. Their strategy is to send so many fastballs, they think we're not going to catch them all. That's why it's so important to have all of these states aligned and working together. I'll give you one other example. Has anyone heard of natural asset companies? Has anyone heard of these things? Okay, we got some very, very on the ball. These are very recent sort of invention. Basically, these are corporations. Remember 30 by 30? Yes. Where they basically want to take land out of production for any kind of use. Well, this is the next version of it. So these natural asset companies are companies. We think of companies that want to create private enterprise. We want to develop, we want to produce, we want to develop economic activity. What these companies do is they buy land and then they do nothing. They take it out of production for any purpose of any kind. So what they try to do, now who would do that? Well, no one would really do that unless you're very rich and you don't care. There are a few of those people. But to do this at scale, if you want to take out hundreds of thousands of acres, millions of acres out of production in the United States, you need billions of dollars. So where do you get billions of dollars? Well, you get billions of dollars from big pension funds. And the California Teachers Pension Fund or the Nebraska Pension Fund have billions of dollars. Well, you can't just invest pension fund dollars into some random company, but you can if it's allowed to be listed on a stock exchange, and the rules are changed such that these companies actually can be viewed as economically viable by doing what it is that they're doing. This is it's an incredible shell game based in lies. So they filed a request, these natural asset companies. They said, we want to be listed. So they sent a letter to the SEC. So let us be listed. And we said, this is incredible. So we filed our own letter. The SEC said, if you do this, you're breaking about every law that you can possibly think of when it comes to securities law. And we will file suit the moment this happened. And they backed off. But this is what we have to do. This is what we have to do. But unfortunately, it's not just California, and it's not the federal government. It is so many more entities, and it's happening in corporate America. We talk about woke companies. The left knows that if they can co-opt big institutions, doesn't have to be the federal government, doesn't have to be states, it could be billion-dollar companies, they can direct the resources of those companies to achieve their aims. And if you could co-opt the Fortune 100 that collectively has trillions of dollars of wealth, and you can get their resources towards your political aims, whether it's net zero in 20 years, or abortion rights, or affirmative action, or racism, then you can do almost more than you can if you have a majority in the Senate and a majority in the House. And there's two places where they've been doing this. There's more than two, but there's two in particular. One is ESG, environmental social governance. You heard of this? Basically, where they co-opt these companies and they control the board, they get enough votes through teachers' pension funds, things like that. They control the proxy advisors, and they get these companies you can get a company that's a retailer spending money lobbying for abortion rights. And all of this is outside of the democratic process. They can't get net zero or pro-abortion, legalized abortion around the country through Congress, but they can do it with using their resources. They can almost get to the same place. So we have been aggressive with other states on ESG. We filed a suit against the SEC. We pushed the proxy advisors. We pushed the companies, and we are starting to see that receive. And we've done it with a lot of our sister states. So we're making progress. Another one is DEI. DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. What does that mean? It basically means it's basically code for being a racist. So this whole, I told you it's not going to be a constitutional class. I'm not going to go deep into this. but you should, if you haven't looked into this already, look into anti-racism. There's a whole school of thought on the left, and I started to see this when I was in law school, called critical race theory, and basically what it says is, you probably all heard this, but this is real. Basically that America is racist, its institutions are racist, its structure is racist, and any system in the United States that produces any disparity amongst race is itself racist. So if we have a system based on merit, and it leads to some disparity of race, that's racist. So let's get rid of merit. If the SAT or the ACT leads to some disparity of race, well, that's racist. Science can be racist. The idea of following the scientific method is racist. It's this whole school of thought funneled through this DEI virus that is co-opting companies and institutions and universities in particular all around the country. After the Supreme Court had its decision last year on affirmative action, about 10 other states and Nebraska sent a letter to all the Fortune 100 CEOs. And we reminded them. We had very specific examples. We said, hey, this company on the Fortune 100 said that they need to have a quota of black people on their board. And this company said that they can only use vendors who are women-owned. And this company said that you can't have this many white people for this particular thing. And we said all of those things are either racist or discriminatory. And in the United States, that's unlawful. So we really would appreciate it if you stopped doing that. And a lot of those companies really started to push back or pull back. This is a constant effort, it's a constant fight, and we have to be aggressive and proactive, and that's another front that we're working on. I have a little bit of time left. I think Diane told me I could go 30 minutes. I never, ever want to go long, so I hope I don't do that. I hope I have a little. Let me give you a couple of things that we're working on locally. Because I told you law enforcement and public safety is one of the most important things. You can't have anything else if you don't have public safety. So one of the first things that I did when I took office, or started to do, and I was very proud to complete it last year, is I visited all 93 counties meeting with law enforcement last year. So I started in Colfax County, and I ended in Dawes, and it was incredible to build the relationships with so many great men and women who are in law enforcement. We are blessed here in Nebraska, but they need our support, and they need us to double down on helping them. They feel that they're lifted up, but they are under attack almost from all corners. From the defund the police movement, there are people out there who want to undermine them, who want to attack them, who want to sue them, and we're seeing around the country when states or communities pull back from common sense law enforcement, community safety principles, what happens? Everything goes into a doom spiral. Oakland, just read the other day, Oakland, California, has they had a franchise, In-N-Out. The first In-N-Out burger is a very famous franchise on the West Coast. In-N-Out burger, very first one that ever closed. Because they had so many burglaries as people were in the drive-thru. Portland, Oregon, Nike. Oregon is the home of Nike. They're one of their flagship stores closed because of all the burglaries. Target pulled out of Portland. San Francisco is its own hellscape. What's happening are bad policies are being replicated. They're undermining law enforcement, and we have to be extraordinarily vigilant here in Nebraska. And that's what we're doing in the Attorney General's office. I want to talk to you a little bit about maybe two remaining things. One is Delta 8 THC. You might see these shops out there. One of the things the very first meeting I ever went to was in Colfax County. I told you I hit all 93, went to Colfax County. I talked to the sheriff. I said, what's your problem? What are the big things here? What can I help with? And he said, number one thing, we have these Delta shops being sold to kids. And people are going to the hospital. I'm like, people are going to the hospital? So we started an investigation, started looking into this. I'm going to give you 3 milligrams of Delta 8. 3 milligrams. Enough on like the head of a pin can put a child in the hospital. We found products in our investigation that had 800 milligrams. 800 milligrams of Delta 8. And on top of that, they were packaging them, ripping off candy packages. So it would be Nerds, or it would be like a Rice Krispie treat, or it would be a sucker. And on top of that, not only is it packaged for kids, it's got potentially lethal doses of drugs for kids, it had all sorts of other chemicals, because most of these products are being sold or being manufactured almost like in people's backyards or bathtubs. They had benzene, they had acetate, they had mold. All things that will give you a third eye or kill you are in these products. And they're in almost every community in the state of Nebraska. And they're undermining children. I can't tell you how many stories we've had from kids going to the hospital. We've had people reach out to our office saying it has ruined my life. The mental health aspects of this is ruining my life. And it's happening in our backyard. It's undermining law enforcement, it's undermining families, and it's undermining our communities. We sued, the biggest consumer protection series of suits we've ever filed. We sued 10 of them in October. We're pushing the legislature this year to have a bill to help strengthen our hand. But I will tell you, we will sue every single store in the state of Nebraska if it takes me the rest of my term to stop these drugs from getting into the hands of kids. The last thing I want to tell you about are two critical things about our rights here locally. The first one is very recent. The first one just happened 2 days ago. LB 77, familiar with LB 77? Just passed the legislature last year. In Nebraska, Second Amendment is a really important right. It got forgotten for about 100 years. There's been a resurgence of interest and support for the Second Amendment, our right to protect ourselves and our families. In Nebraska, some of our big cities, Lincoln and Omaha in particular, have for a long time now respected that right. And Senator Brewer passed a bill, LB 77, last year with the help of Senator Hughes, to say, you know what, we're not going to let Omaha and Lincoln degrade and undermine our right to protect ourselves and be armed. So that bill passed. And it said, you know what, Lincoln and Omaha, you no longer can do all these regulations, all these restrictions. So what they did, unfortunately, is Omaha and Lincoln both went ahead and issued regulations anyway. And they said, yeah, we know it's in the Second Amendment, and yes, it's actually in the First Amendment of the Nebraska State Constitution, and yes, we know the legislature said we really mean it last year, but nevertheless, we're going to restrict your right to bear arms, your right to have a weapon, if you're on public property. So if you're in a park or on a public sidewalk. So Senator Brewer asked our office, said, hey, I don't think this is constitutional. So we issued an opinion and said, very clearly, no, this is not constitutional and it's inconsistent with the bill. The day after our opinion came out, a group of amazing citizens led by Nebraska Firearm Owners Association filed suit in Omaha, citing, they had their own work, but they cited our opinion. And just 2 days ago, the district court judge enjoined the Omaha order, relying heavily on the opinion from our office, and made very clear to Omaha, and we think Lincoln's going to be next, you have to respect the law. You have to respect the Constitution, and you have to respect what the legislature did. That was a big victory for gun rights 2 days ago. The last thing I want to share with you, I was very proud that one of the first wins that we had was Nebraska v. Biden. But I probably am more proud that one of our second win was ACLU and Planned Parenthood versus Hilgers. Because last year, the legislature, Senator Hughes and 32 of her allies passed one of the most important pro-life preborn baby protection bills that we've had. By actually moving up, now it wasn't as good as a lot of us wanted, but we went from 20 weeks in a dismemberment abortion ban, all the way up to 12 weeks. And for Nebraska, who's been has had a leadership role on the issue of life, it was important for us to take that step forward and save more babies. Well, the ACLU sued because they didn't want this bill to go into place. And they filed suit, and the case isn't over. It's in front of the Nebraska Supreme Court. It's going to be around the corner. But I was very proud of our team because when we went in front of the Lancaster County District Court judge, we brought our A team, we brought our glass heaters, and we beat them, and we won. And so I'm probably most proud of what we've done over the last 14 months than defending the legislature and defending babies and getting that win in front of the Nebraska District Court. I think I might be out of time, Diana, probably. I just want to end as I started. I just am so grateful for you to be here. I'm so thankful for what you're doing for the party. I'm so thankful for what you're doing for our community. None of us can do any of this alone. I can't win the battles that I'm facing unless we're in office and we're supported. You can't have an amazing first-class auditor unless he is in office and supported. We can't get great candidates for the school board unless we're working together to identify them and getting them across the finish line. And more than anything, in this political culture, where anyone who stands up and shows courage and stands up for principle gets attacked and torn down, and it seems like the playbook now is cancel culture, tear them down, intimidate them. When people stand up and they're courageous, we all need to stand up together with them. And so when I'm here, I'm uplifted by your presence. I'm uplifted by the strength of this room. And let's all work together to be able to help preserve this amazing gift that we've been given, the United States of America, so that when we're all long and gone, and in 80 years or 70 years, there's a Lincoln Reagan dinner, they are celebrating the same values that we are fighting for here today. So God bless you all. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a presidential election year, as you know, and what we need to do is defeat Biden in the presidency or whoever else they decide to run. If he's not knowing where he's going, he goes through the wrong door, who knows. But one of the things I want to implore on you is to pick somebody that has the importance of knowing how to shut the southern border down. And B.G. Hilger's talk about DEI reminded me of something I read the other day. I wish I'd have thought about it myself, but it was so brilliant. As Republicans, as Americans, and as conservatives, we need to flip the narrative, just like the alternative lifestyle did to our rainbow. That was a promise from God. We're going to turn DEI around. And it's not diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's deport every illegal.
Woo! Woohoo!
For the closing remarks, we'll have Dawn Lippard start off. She's our executive director of the Nebraska Republican Party on behalf of Chairman Underwood.
I want to thank William. You've done a great job. William is our legislative director, and he spends a lot of time working with our senators and legislators, studying the bills, trying to keep us all updated on what's happening in that Capitol, which is often very exciting, if you can believe that. I also want to thank Diana and Tom Johnson. You are great leaders. I know about a year ago, this county, you had been meeting as a patriot group. The county got started as an official county party. Previous to that, it was pretty dormant. And so I congratulate you and your team for all the hard work you've done over this past year. I want to thank all the public servants too. I know you guys go above and beyond, and as Senator, I still want to call you Senator Hilders was talking, I had visions of president. Wow, we should run for president. You have a skill set, that's for sure. I wanted to point out, as Kirk was talking about pornography in our schools, and it is there, you're right. And we just had, and we fought, Terry Cunningham, out of Cass County. She was on the school board in Plattsmouth. She got recalled once, and it failed. She got recalled again, and it won. I think it was like 1,500 to 1,000 votes. And it was simply because she exposed the pornography that exists in their K through 12 school as a school board member, and they took her out. So we have to begin fighting a lot harder than we're accustomed to doing. We do have great school board members that just stepped up. We have Lisa Schoenhoff, or candidates, sorry, not members, candidates. Linda Vermooten, Liz David, and the fourth one, I was hoping that her name would start with an L-I as well, but it's actually Stacy Matula just entered the race. So if we could get all four of them across the finish line, what we will do is change the whole dynamic of our school system in the state. So I'm so looking for it. I think we can do it.
One vote in February changes it all.
Right, indeed. I'm glad Auditor Foley, you mentioned the ballot initiative. So that voter ID initiative that they have going on now, we talk about almost daily in our office, because this is the trial run. They will know where the numbers are and what they need to do across each of the counties to pass another initiative to change our amendments, our constitution forever, to have abortion in our state. We have to fight this now. And we talk about this daily. I'm glad you talked about Lincoln Lancaster and what happened with the airport authority, because I live there. I grew up there, and because of what I see happening in our county and our city is why I got in this fight about 3 years ago. We all have to get off the bench, and many of you are, and I'm grateful for that, to start fighting back, because I've been sitting there too long, and it's time to step forward. But enough said. Chairman Underwood has a message that he provided for you, and he really apologizes that he couldn't be here. He's in the restaurant business, and next week is Valentine's Day, so he's going to be hit this weekend and next weekend, and he needs to make some money. So, but he did write a message I would like to relate to you. York County Republicans, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for continuing to give and engage and sacrifice. I truly wish I could be here in person tonight, but must focus on my business, my restaurant. Thank you to Chair Diana Johnson and the York County GOP team for having the heart and drive to be leaders who believe in people and bring more York Republicans to the fold. We must fully understand, fully commit our mind to the truth. The truth is, we are in a war for this country. We are in a spiritual war. We are in a war on our values. We are in a war for the very identity of this country. Our elections are under attack. Our border is under attack. Our children and their future is under attack. On May 14th, 2024, if enough Republicans believe in the process, if enough Republicans join forces and bring their time, talents, and treasures to county parties and candidates, if enough Republicans say enough is enough with the status quo of politics, then you will truly see something unprecedented, something historical. You will be a part of history and will have altered the future of Republican politics in Nebraska forever. However, to get to the general election on November 5th, or even May 14th, we have to understand earlier dates of importance, starting with March 1st. Friday, March 1st will be the filing deadline for candidates to all offices from Senate to school board. If you've ever considered running for an elected office, 2024 is the year, because the volume of the people is greater than ever before. 2024 is the year because the stability within each county party is greater than ever before. The source of any government's authority is the consent of the governed. This means that the government is not the ruler, but the servant or agent of the citizens. It means that the government as such has no rights, except the rights delegated to it by the citizens for a specific purpose. For a political party, the same source of values is derived from the people. At the very core of every party's governance is a county or political subdivision position called a delegate. These delegates sign up every 2 years to be a voice for others. They choose to participate in the core county organizational structure known as the county convention, at which the governing body follows a set of rules and procedures to elect smaller subgroups called a central committee and an executive committee. Show up and know the rules. You can't know the rules if you don't show up. Okay. March 1st is the filing deadline for becoming a county delegate. So there should be forms. Do you have forms available? Okay, see Diana if you do. At the county level, once the delegates have conducted their business, the central and executive committee take the reins and are supposed to achieve the objectives of the party. The county central committee can meet as frequently as determined in the county constitution, but they are to meet for a purpose. The purpose is to set standards and create stabilities of the organization so Republicans and those considering becoming Republicans can see the professionalism, stability, and the organization to further the principles within the community. The Central Committee can amend constitutions, draft and adopt resolutions, publicly endorse candidates, elect executive officers, approve budgets, and support additional committees to further the objectives. If you'll notice so far, the purpose of the party has little to do with elected officials and should be devoid of personalities. The organizational foundation of a party has to be built first, or people simply won't participate. The executive committee of each county is usually a chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer, can now implement and facilitate the objectives of the party because they have a framework from which to operate. The connecting of the values of the party to the voters in the county can commence through events and meetings, training, candidate recruitment and development, parades, and of course, fundraising. All we need next is candidates and elected representatives who will do the same. Connect the values of the party to the voters. It's time to get more involved. It's time to participate, not just join your county party. It's time to see the stability that is the new Republican Party of Nebraska. It's time for you to make a difference. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for your sacrifices. And I truly pray that God blesses your time together tonight and your efforts to bring stability within the Republican Party.
Yep.
Thank you. Let me say, I really like my job. I have so much fun at this job, so thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Well, I don't have much to say. We've had a great evening, just great stuff from the Mikes and from Jana and from Kirk, and wow. But it is important to get involved. We aren't going to keep our values in this county unless conservative people get involved. And so I'm just going to ask you, please think about what you can do before March 1 and sign up for an office, for a school board, for a city council, for a commissioner, whatever. If you're conservative, we need your input. So Chairman Eric couldn't have said it any better. We do have our county convention on March 5, Tuesday, March 5. And we will be electing our central committee, which will be 2 people from each commissioner district, so there's 10. Who is here right now that's on our central committee? Would you please stand? Thank you. They aren't all here, but that is the governing body of York County Republicans. They then vote on the executive committee. And who is here that's on the executive committee? Jeff McGregor is our vice chair. Dwayne back there is our treasurer, and Danielle Lair Siebert is our secretary. So again, it's really great to have you here, but think about what you can do to keep our conservative values going in our towns, in our county, and in our state. So once again, I'd like you to show appreciation for our speakers. I could sit and listen a lot longer, but and our servers. You all did a great job. Thank you very much. So thank you to everybody that helped us make this happen tonight. The food was absolutely out of this world. I want to thank Kathy back there. She is the one that got all the people to donate food and whatever. Mary Gloystein isn't here tonight, but it's her that did all the decorations. I mean, she put it all together, and then we decorated last night. But thanks to her for everything that she puts in this party. She's an unbelievable woman that can never give enough. Okay, I hope you noticed on your tables, there's a little saying underneath the president. Some of them are, and those, the words there are by that president. So some of them are pretty serious, but some of them are serious but funny. So I hope you took note of those comments. On your tables, there's a York County Republican magnet. You can take that home with you. Put it on your fridge. That'll help you remind you that we've got meetings the first Tuesday of every month, and you should join us. To make positive changes in our town, county, state, and country, it takes us to join together and work together. It's never too late to make a difference. So please join York County Republicans, or I know there's some here from other county parties. You're always welcome at York County GOP, but if you want to get involved in your own county party and you don't know who or where it is, let me know, and between Dawn and I, we'll hook you up. If you want to know when we have meetings and what we're doing at meetings, the objective in the beginning when we started this was to get people informed on who is running for office, what the issues are, just to inform and have a local body that can get together and support each other. And that's what we do at our meetings. So if you want to know, please make sure that I have your email on that sign-in sheet that you, that's back there on that table. And again, the next meeting that we have will be Tuesday, March 5. It'll be right here, and that's going to be our county convention. And to be a delegate, and Dawn mentioned a little bit, there are delegate forms back there. Jeff McGregor is a notary. And so he can get those forms filled out. They get taken to the courthouse, and then you have can vote at our county convention. I'll just make a note that 2 years ago, I went to the county convention, and there were at most 10 York County residents at that convention. And there was only, I don't know, maybe 8 delegates. I mean, that's all. I right now have like 47 delegates signed up for our county convention. And if you're not one of them, please sign the form. Okay, I told you about the magnets. There's some brochures back there. There's also, I think, Skylar has an Epic thing that you can sign if you want. There's some other brochures back there. There was a lot talked tonight about the left. There's a brochure back there that comes, that one side of it came right off the Democrat website. The other side came right off the Republican website. And it tells you the differences on those things. There is a difference between Democrats and Republicans. Republicans are conservative for the most part. Not all, but for the most part. So you can take that brochure. There's a couple of others back there if you want to take them. And then I would like to have the kids come up and the mics come up and Kirk and Jana, and let's take some pictures, if you would. I know I see you guys looking funny, but you know what? 10 years from now, or on your graduation, your mom will love having that picture with you. So. And then that's it. Have a safe trip home, and there's soup for sale. Go back and buy some soup.
Yeah, you need to come up here, Jill.